And we're coming to you live from Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant in St. Simons Island, Georgia. I'm Bill Calogero. I'm joined with Sal Rocky Cenicola and my man, Coach K. Fellas,
I know you don't want to say I called it.
No.
I know you don't want to say that.
Listen.
All right.
I do want to say this. Fantastic fight.
Fantastic.
I thought that the fight was pay-per-view worthy. I'm curious to see what the numbers are tomorrow. But personally, I scored the fight a draw, 114-114. I don't think anybody can argue with the scores. I think it would have been okay either way. What was your thoughts of the fight, Sal?
Let me tell you, this is what boxing and fighting is all about. This was a classic matchup. It was perfect. These guys were conditioned to punch 12 rounds, bell to bell. These guys wanted to fight. They had the heart, the desire, the passion. And they exchanged blows that would have stopped less fighters right in their tracks. These guys wanted to win, and it was a classic. I loved it. Great fight. Could have been a draw. I did think that Thurman pulled it out, but it was a classic. It was a classic fight, and I want to see a rematch.
I don't know if we're going to see a rematch, Coach. What do you think?
I think fight fans got the fight they wanted to see, regardless of the winner. I also had it a draw. What I'm looking to see happen out of this, at the minimum, a rematch. But if not, Thurman has to fight a quality fighter next.
Well, I'll tell you, my thoughts on this fight, as far as Keith Thurman is concerned, I thought that he impressed me with the fact that he didn't run around and hide like I thought he was. He fought. The fight was entertaining. I mean, they threw what?
Great fight.
What did they say?
Over 1,100 punches.
Wasn't it more?
Yeah. I think I heard over 1,100 punches.
A lot of punches.
A lot of punches.
A lot of action. To be critical of somebody, I would say Shawn Porter was open too much. I don't think he had his hands open. He lunged like you said he was going to lunge a little bit. I saw him working the body well, but then he seemed to abandon it. You know, I don't know. I can't even. I don't even know.
He did a little bit more retreating than I expected to see. I thought I was going to see at least the aggressive come forward from him all the time. The retreating, I was a little taken back with.
Coach, that's why he lost the fight. Because you know what? When he had Thurman on the ropes, he was relentless with the combinations, putting the pressure on, but he let Thurman off the hook. Whether he got tagged with something or he just wanted to back out, catch his win, whatever it was. But he had many opportunities to really hurt Thurman and do the job that he could to be dominant. And Thurman, to his credit, took a good shot, came back. He was hitting, like I said, from the outside. He was trying to get him and caught him coming in. And, a couple times I thought that Porter's head was bobbing up a little bit too high without his hands in front of it, and he got caught with some shots. But what a great fight, an entertaining fight. This is what boxing and the putting the best of the best in the ring to fight each other is all about. Now, each fighter, like we said it earlier, you said, they've got to fight a quality fighter next. I would love to see the rematch. And I'll call that one when it happens.
Well, the truth of the matter is how many other quality fighters in that welterweight division that are willing to fight each other are out there.
Exactly.
I think both fighters proved that they were prepared for this fight. Both fighters were in great condition. I don't know what else to say. I mean, it was a great fight. I loved it. To me, this is what, like you said, Sal, this is what boxing's all about. What's your thoughts? Give us a call, 845-228-8710. Phone lines are open, 845-228-8710. Where do they go from here? Listen, the worst part of this whole fight was Steve Willis. I'm not a big fan of Steve Willis, with all the faces he makes. And, he's breaking them up at times when I thought that they should let him fight their way out. Even against the ropes, even in the clinches, with one hand free, let them fight their way out.
Let them fight their way out. I'm a big fan of that, too. Don't try to overmanage or showboat your refereeing skills. Just make it clean, make it good, make the fighters do their job and fight.
And that interruption took away a big part of Porter's game.
It did.
Yeah, I didn't like the warning that was given to Shawn Porter, even though later in the fight we got to see the replay and it was a little south to the belt, but that's something I think Shawn Porter, if he does get another chance against Keith Thurman, I think that he will I think that he will definitely or should definitely work the body. We got someone on the line right now. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Andrew from Calgary. How are you?
Hey, Andrew from Calgary. How are you? What'd you think of the fight?
Oh, great fight. I knew going into the final round that whoever won this fight, the decision was going to be maybe a little bit controversial. I personally saw this fight as a draw. I gave Thurman the last round. That's what scored it 114 for me. But personally, I don't think either guy's stock goes down after both of them give performances like this.
I agree.
Good point. 100%.
I agree with you, Andrew, and I had the score the same, 114. I actually scored the last round for Porter, which gave me the 114. I was a little surprised at some of the judges scoring. Steve Farhood was. I didn't hear. Steve Farhood was the unofficial scorer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I think he had it 113 as well as the judges.
Well,
Wow.
there were a couple of rounds that were close, and like I said earlier, I don't think that anybody could call this a robbery. I just personally felt that it was a draw, but when you got a draw, that means 1 point swing. I mean,
It means go back to the drawing board.
Do you want to see a rematch, Andrew?
I would love to see a rematch.
How do you think?
What boxing needs.
Exactly.
You're right, Andrew.
Exactly.
100%. That's
Exactly.
what we said.
I thought, in your opinion, Andrew, what did you think as far as, real quickly, what did you think as far as improvement from both fighters? What would you like to see next time out?
Oh, it's hard for me to say. I'm nowhere near as
No.
experienced as any of them, so it wouldn't be fair for me to say at this point in time.
Well, Andrew, listen, man, I appreciate the call. We got a bunch of other callers calling in. Appreciate the call, man.
Thank you,
No
Andrew.
problem.
Thanks a lot. All right. Hey, we got we had somebody scoring it the same way we did.
Same we did.
114.
Exactly. I said the last round's going to tell the fight.
Yeah. We got someone else on the line. What's your name? Where you calling from? Are you on the line?
John?
Hey, John. What's up, man? What'd you think of the fight?
Well, it was an ugly fight.
Ugly
I'm a
fight?
fan of Thurman. Yeah, I'm a fan of Thurman's, but he never seems, I'm sure he has power, but if he ever learns to just kind of set his feet and settle in, because he's kept kind of piggy-patting the jab out there and would never really throw a solid jab. And I think he needs to retool, go back to some basics, and learn how to set his feet, because he's too much bending at the waist and he's off balance, and it looks almost like he's become more of a counter puncher than he is a stalker and a fighter.
Well, I tell you what, John, I thought that he did really well counterpunching tonight, and I give him a lot of credit because he was there to fight. His last couple of fights, he fought safety first. And I've always been a fan of Thurman. I actually thought Porter would come out on top tonight, but I was impressed with both of them. I really was. And I liked the counter punching. I mean, I thought it was good.
I thought he was effective from the outside, and that's what I think helped him. And I thought he landed some good shots.
Yeah.
Technique-wise, I think.
What's that?
Technique-wise, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, John. What'd you say?
No, because it's almost like he would react to whatever Porter was doing. I mean, it just seemed to me like he had been out there making the fight, becoming more being aggressive and cutting off the ring, and not, setting his feet, throwing some punches. Because I think if he had set his feet a couple of times, because he hit Porter, and then he never did follow, and he hit him aggressive, and instead of trying to come back with the right, you see him kind of looking to cut rough. Like he's looking to get punched back. Like he's hitting just enough to kind of defend and try to get away.
So the bottom line is you felt that he should have been the aggressor rather than Porter, because I thought that Porter was the aggressor and Keith Thurman was, reacting to that.
The counterpuncher.
Yeah.
Keith
That's
Thurman
what
was
I'm
a
looking for. He's a
good
counterpuncher.
counterpuncher.
Yeah, so like he was in the beginning of his career. But you got to give Porter some credit. I mean, he took some hellacious shots.
Let me tell you,
I mean, Thurman
Porter's
landed,
got a hell of a chin, because
Yeah,
he took some shots.
Thurman landed some shots, but
Thurman did land some heavy blows that would have stopped a lot of guys.
the only thing I think that Thurman might need to do is condition his body a little. I mean, he got hurt by some.
He got hurt in the body. A couple shots
Yeah.
to the side, the liver, the
I wanted
kidneys.
to ask you something. What do you think about?
kidneys.
Do you think he might want to try to find a new trainer or something like new training? 'Cause I
No.
was thinking I'd love to see Ann Wolf training him.
Ann Wolf should train a lot of fighters. She doesn't get the opportunities I think she should. But Birmingham has been with Keith Thurman for a long time. That's a tight relationship. I don't think you're going to see him disappear anytime soon.
No.
I don't think Campbell.
Yeah, what this looks like ever since he got with the PBC, he's not the same Keith Thurman anymore.
Well,
we talked about that as well. We said he got a little more defensive, a little more cautious, a little more careful. Safety first. You said it, Bill.
Yeah,
you called it.
I agree with you there, John, 100%. And the way he reacted after the fight, thanking the PBC and Al Heyman.
That almost made me cry.
I felt a little nauseous, but, all right, brother. Thanks for calling. We got some other callers we're going to take, man. Make sure you tune into our daily show. All right, well...
I felt technique-wise, if anybody needed to go back to the gym and work a little bit, it was Porter, constantly being caught off balance.
That's what we said.
And the straight right hand was missing. Everything was...
The lunge.
But that's his style, though. He does
Right.
fight a little awkwardly, I mean...
If he came back to the gym with me, he'd be on the wall. He'd have to learn to put it, just to change the angle of his punching.
He kind of seemed too happy about the result at the end,
Too much. You know what? Let me tell you something. He reminded me. I flashed back to when Tommy Hearns lost a split decision to Sugar Ray Leonard. That I thought Tommy Hearns. No, it was a draw. I'm sorry. That Tommy Hearns. I thought he won the fight, and Tommy Hearns was more than pleased and more than grateful to accept the draw. And that. I felt the same, that Porter was a little bit more excited to take the loss in a nice, gracious manner. I appreciate his sportsmanship, but you know what?
Well, I think we got Dax on the line right now.
Dax,
is this you, Dax? Dax, are you on the line?
Yes, this is me, gentlemen. How is it?
This is Dax, gentleman. Hey,
Dax, gentleman. How you doing, Dax?
Dax, what's your thoughts of the fight, my man? What's your thoughts of the fight?
You guys, gentlemen, but thank you for calling me one. It was a great fight. It was an exciting fight, but I really didn't. I didn't see it like a lot of people seen it. I thought Shawn Porter won that fight 8 rounds to 4.
Wow. He definitely threw more punches, and he was the aggressor. I thought that he when he did get caught, Dax, he got caught with some hard shots. Personally, I had the fight even, but I don't think anybody can really complain. With our last caller, I kind of agree with the gist of what he's saying. It seems like Keith Thurman has changed a bit, A
little bit. But can I tell you something? You can look at the scenario, and guess what? This fight was so good that you really could not argue if Porter got the decision. Right. We know Thurman got the decision, or if it was a draw. That's how good this fight was and how close it was.
Hey, Dax, do you think that Shawn Porter should have been fighting smaller?
I think he was too up.
What Shawn Porter's not a big power puncher. Contrary to, what a lot of people might think, the fans will say. He's not. Shawn Porter's an accumulative puncher. And when Shawn Porter put Keith Thurman on the ropes, he got his job done, and he was doing exactly what he needed to do. And he was also doing a lot of veteran-type tactics inside there, where he was using the shoulder, used the forearm a little bit, and he had Keith Thurman so frustrated on that ropes. And when you watch a fight, because I break them down on the show all the time, and I always look at the fighters' last 5 or 6 fights before then. And what I noticed with Keith Thurman in that fight is a lot of panic. Keith Thurman got into that shell, and he just stood there, and he was taking a mugging. And if Shawn Porter was a guy who had one-punch power, Keith Thurman would have been knocked out. Make no mistake about that. Shawn Porter was getting around the guard on the sides to the body. He was coming right up the middle with the uppercut. Keith Thurman was using that, with Dan Birmingham over in the corner. I would say, Keith Thurman was trying to use that winky right, tight, high guard, but it wasn't working well because he's not winky right. Shawn Porter, the fact that he was able to get that much work in there, and Keith Thurman, after taking 10, 15, at one point in time I counted 17 punches before Keith Thurman did anything back. Keith Thurman stood there and he froze. Keith Thurman, even at the time, the rounds that he didn't win, if you remember and look at the fight again, you'll see that during those rounds, other than those 2 rounds where the one round, Shawn Porter was caught more off balance and was hurt. And then early on, I think it was the 3rd or 4th round when he did actually stun Porter, where Porter's legs went down, buckled. Keith Thurman was actually caught with the 2 hardest shots of those rounds. The ones that Shawn Porter was going backwards, that was always Shawn Porter, and still is always Shawn Porter's worst habit is he goes backwards and he doesn't cut the ring off. He kind of follows, and that was one of my worries in this fight. He was going to follow him. And Keith Thurman, I will say this, Keith Thurman, I know Coach is saying he needs to fight a top welterweight. He's not going to fight a top welterweight. When you want, we criticize Floyd Mayweather Jr. all the time for his choice of opponents.
Who?
Understand this.
Don't mention that.
Say what you're saying.
No, you said the Mayweather word.
I said who?
Who?
You know,
Who?
but
We're just joking.
When you get into a position like Floyd Mayweather, just like it was with Oscar De La Hoya, even though the competition level is much different, that was the sweepstakes. For Keith Thurman to fight Floyd Mayweather, Floyd wanted him to do what Keith Thurman said to other guys. You got to prove yourself to fight me. He wouldn't fight Maidana because Maidana hadn't done enough. He was a 140-pound brawler. So Floyd Mayweather said, I'll tell you what, this will be your audition. Fight Errol Spence. You beat Errol Spence. You have a fight with me. Errol Spence called him out. He stood there and called him out on camera, and Keith Thurman used the same excuse and says, no, I can't. Keith Thurman, when he was going to fight Leonard, I think it was Leonard Bundu, and Randall Bailey wants a fight with Keith Thurman so much, even though he's way past it. I remember Randall going to that weigh-in purposely just to see if he can get under Keith Thurman's nerves. And Randall Bailey said he stood there, he stared at Thurman, he walked around. Anytime he can get close to Thurman, just to smile at him and smirk at him. And anytime he would be in some area where somebody would ask him, why are you here? He'd look over at Thurman and he'd say, because I want the winner of this fight. And Keith Thurman refused to look him in the eye.
Well,
This is a guy that is very, you say how he's changed so much since he's been with the PBC. He absolutely has. I've said it on our show, Bill. There are weaknesses in Keith Thurman. The body's a big weakness with Keith Thurman.
Yeah.
Keith Thurman does not have heart. Tonight, he didn't show heart to me. He showed he can take a beating, and when he gets in there with one of these guys that are able to have that one-punch power, Keith Thurman is going to be one time on the canvas, and he's not getting up. If he went down tonight, he wouldn't have got up. He has no heart, and I don't care who doesn't like what I'm saying.
I tell you the truth. I think that if Shawn Porter was more accurate as a puncher, we wouldn't be talking about this fight going the distance.
Dex did bring up a point where Thurman, when he went on the ropes, he did something I don't think any fighter should ever do. Go 100% defensive. I was waiting for Porter to catch him with the shot when Thurman finally came out of that shell. But that's almost the same time that Porter would go on the retreat instead of stepping it up, allowing Thurman to steal a little bit of that thunder.
Porter left Thurman off the hook a little too much, a couple times. And
it wasn't conditioning.
And that's the whole thing. Whose fault was it? Was it Porter's fault that he would let him off the hook when he had him on the ropes, and he was pummeling him at times? And I thought that Thurman was going to go down. Yeah, but to his credit, he weathered the storm. He came back with little chopping uppercuts, overhand rights, got away, got out of the corner, and he went on to live another round.
But that's my point. If Shawn Porter was delivering those punches that he was throwing more accurately, and they were landing in spots, that were going to cause more damage, maybe we're not talking about a fight going the distance.
If you think back to the Thurman-Collazo fight, Collazo almost pulled the upset there with a body shot.
And then he quit. And then that's the end.
It was a shot. It was a shot. But let me tell you something else. If Porter...
No, he said it was a shot, Collazo. He was finished.
Shot, Collazo.
Yeah.
But absolutely. But let me tell you, I'm on another thing.
Write it down for me.
Write it down. But I'll tell you this, I think Porter let Thurman off the hook because he was effectively hitting him with the body shots. He hit him in the sides, he hit him in the liver, he hit him in the spleen. He effectively
He went after
started
the spleen too.
He went after the spleen. It was a
That's-
lean spleen.
Yeah.
No, I'm telling you what. He
It was
did
really good.
It was veal. How do you veal? I'll tell you what. He did a very good job in the body. I was surprised when Porter let Thurman off the hook by not being relentless with those body shots because he got him. He caught him. And then he changed the fight game.
Dax, is there going to be a rematch?
I don't think so.
Yeah, you know, I said that too.
I will say this. Maybe because of my dislike of Thurman, the fight was a little closer. I still
He
think
doesn't like
Porter
Thurman?
edged
I
that
guess not.
fight out. But I don't like Keith Thurman because Keith Thurman is a bully. I don't like bullies. I have followed his career ever since his knockdown. Ever since Keith Thurman was knocked down by Quandre Robinson way back in 2010, Keith Thurman has fought careful fights. The other night, I was watching some of his fights, and I went back to the Jesus Soto Carras fight. And you know something? Jesus Soto Carras is a guy that, if he had some more speed on him, he would have beat Keith Thurman. In that fight, I seen the same thing that I seen tonight. When Thurman got hit, the look on his face said, I don't like it. Nobody likes getting hit, but you know something? When you're a professional fighter, you're in the hurt game, and when you walk around and say your name is one time, and you brag about how you are the greatest, you're taking over the division, you know something one time, you better be able to take it and dish it out. Don't stand there and freeze up. Errol Spence Jr., if he ever signs, takes him out in 3 rounds. If Errol Spence Jr. ever put him on the ropes like that, Keith Thurman wouldn't last 5 shots.
Hey, Dax, we're getting some other callers, but let me ask you this: any word? Can you give us any heads up on the viewers for that event? Did you catch any numbers going around on social media or anything else while you were watching the fight?
From what I've seen, from what I've heard right now, is about 1.2.
1.2 million.
2 million?
About 1.2 right now is what I've heard.
Okay.
Prime time CBS. I would. Yeah. I would hope. Or maybe was it a 1.2 million or 1.2 rating?
No, 1.2 million is what I've heard so far.
Wow. That's very light. Wow.
Huh.
And some of those, it might even be higher when you want to consider in what they haven't tallied in crossover fans, because a lot of those UK fans on big fight nights will stay up till 5, 6, 7 in the morning over there when fights are going on here, so it might even be higher.
Yeah, but they can't count those numbers because they won't. They can't get a CBS. They wouldn't be able to get a CBS connection. I don't think.
Yeah, you might be right there. Yeah, this is true. I heard, I don't know how true it is, but I heard the Barclays wasn't sold out.
We heard that it was sold out.
And they still had tickets. At 11 o'clock last night, they still had tickets. And I heard that from a good source. They still had tickets for sale.
Wow. That's surprising. Dax, we'll look forward to you next week, man. We'll be back. When are we going to be back? Oh, no, we're not going to be back next week. We're going to be back July 5th.
Really?
Is our next show.
And you know what I did enjoy tonight was Dominic Breazeale and Anthony Joshua. Good job by Dominic Breazeale. He lost. That's a guy who showed heart. He came there to win. He just didn't have what it took to take out a guy like Anthony Joshua.
No.
And this week, Bill, when we're on, we'll talk. I seen something in Anthony Joshua I don't like. You guys were talking about before how well he did. He reminds me of a guy I know you hate when I talk about him, Lennox Lewis, and he also showed a bad trait that Vladimir Klitschko used to show at that point in time in his career. And I think if he doesn't change a little bit.
Yeah, I think Anthony Joshua is the real deal, and I loved it.
So was Vladimir Klitschko, and so was Lennox Lewis. But you know what? They both had a small trait that it cost them about the same point in time in their career when they were world champions.
But I'll tell you something right now that Anthony Joshua has that neither one of those guys had. It's called excitement. You know, I get excited to watch
And a future.
Of those guys. Yeah, and a full future. He's only 28 years old. I'm excited to watch Anthony Joshua. He's technically sound. I loved that fight, and I do agree with you about Dominic Breazeale. Giving him some kudos for showing heart and trying his best, because he didn't go there just for a payday. That's for sure.
No.
And we'll see if Deontay Wilder really does what he says. It's one thing to say, let's make the fight now. It's another thing to actually do it.
Is that what he said?
All
right.
Stevenson called Kovalev out about 40 times already.
Listen, I didn't get to hear. Is that what he was doing, Deontay Wilder? He was calling him out?
Yeah, because Joshua mentions the Wilder in his post fight, and Deontay Wilder said, "Well, you know what? Let's do this now. Why wait? We can do this now. I'm ready now." And you know something? I heard that from Adonis Stevenson. I don't know how many years ago. 4 years now. He's a world champion, a linear world champion, and he's yet to fight the top guy in the division.
I think Wilder's best chance is if he does it now, because if Joshua has the time to get any better, Wilder doesn't have a
You're
chance.
right. You know what? Great point, Coach.
Yeah, no, we'll see what happens with that. Dax, I'll talk to you later in the week, man.
All right, great show, guys. Nice talking to everybody. Good job.
Thanks
Good
a lot.
job, Dax.
Take care.
Thank you.
Man, I was a little curious about that last call, but no, I'm the call on my phone, not Dax. But I was a little curious of Dax's opinion of
He was
Anthony Joshua.
definitely heavily weighted.
I don't see it 8-4 no either way.
Oh, you're talking
We're
about
talking about
other
the fight. No, I didn't see it 8-4, but
Yeah.
but Dax had some good points too.
Yeah, no. I'm saying that I can't believe that he felt the way he did about Anthony Joshua.
No, I know.
Yeah, I thought Anthony Joshua was exciting, and I look forward to that.
But I was interested, and he didn't say the thing he saw. I was just wondering if it was the same thing we saw of the drop in the one hand when he loads up with the other. He never specified the one thing he thought he saw.
Oh, you mean with Anthony Joshua?
Right.
Yeah, well, he always busts I bust his chops and he busts mine about Lennox Lewis. He thinks Lennox Lewis was one of the top 10 greatest heavyweights of all time. And
I think he's underrated. He's no way top 10.
Top 10 of all time.
No, he's definitely underrated. Great point, but I don't think he's top 10.
Well, I think he changed the complexion of the heavyweight division.
He did.
Because now heavyweights are 6'5" plus, 250 pounds plus, chiseled. You know, that was Lennox Lewis. But 845-228-8710. I guess we got some time for another caller. I also was pretty surprised that he had 8-4 for.
I was very surprised
shocked.
about that. That's very surprising.
Yeah, 8-4. I thought the fight was very close. Although my card varied from Steve Farhood's. We seem to have caught up until the end there. You know, he's got that fight was exactly how they scored it. You know,
Exactly. And like I said, you couldn't really argue in this fight if the decision went the other way for Porter or if it was a draw. That's how close this fight was.
Yeah.
It could have been across the board in Porter's favor or a draw, and it was Thurman's favor. So, but like I said, you would have an argument on each level of why it was valid to call that fight either in Porter's favor or a draw or with Thurman winning.
what do you think about his thoughts on Errol Spence Jr.?
I like Spence. I think he's the full package, and at 3 rounds, I don't think that's happening.
But he hasn't fought anybody of the caliber of either Thurman or Porter.
No, but he has demonstrated all the tools, and he has the punch that will put Thurman on a defensive. He goes into 100% shell, it's done. It's over.
I do agree with Dax 100% about, and the caller before Dax, about Keith Thurman just not being the same aggressive kill or be killed Keith Thurman that he was.
No, he fought a defensive fight.
Yeah. There's he fought. He fought more aggressively than I thought he would fight. You know, listen. I love that fight.
It's a great fight.
I don't want to be negative.
Great
in any
fight.
way,
Don't
shape,
be
or form.
negative because you know what? Like I said, this was what boxing is all about. This was a great fight. You had 2 combatants that really wanted to win, showed they wanted to win, showed their heart, gave a fight, and they were relentless on their own level to beat the other guy.
Yeah, I just feel, just as we give our final thoughts here, personally, I feel that as far as Keith Thurman's concerned, I would have liked to have seen him, just like one of our callers, I would have liked to have seen him be more aggressive rather than sit back and wait to counter. As far as Shawn Porter is concerned, I would have liked to have seen him a little more defensive-minded. And he's got to do something about developing a little more accuracy because he's wasting his energy by throwing those wild punches.
He lunges a little bit. He throws those wild punches, and that would hone him in if he could get more accurate and stop bouncing with those hands down and head up because he's a target for somebody who boxes on the outside and could pick you apart.
Final thoughts, Coach?
I know I'm going to say the same thing again here, but Thurman got his win. What he does with it now, I think, is really important to his career and, more importantly, to boxing. He has the opportunity to advance the sport back to where people want to see it, and what he does with it now.
Yeah, but I agree with Dax. He's not going to fight a top guy. He's going to pick an easy fight. He's going to continue to pound his chest. I mean, I think we were blessed by getting this fight. I think it was a do or die for the PBC. The numbers will tell us in a couple of days, how they did and how they're going to progress. All in all, I loved the fight. I think it was what boxing needed.
Great fight.
I thought both fighters deserved credit. I mean, we could, nitpick them apart and stuff like that, but I loved the fight.
It was a great fight.
Not only did I love it on CBS.
I would have liked to grab a couple of the fans that were booing and get their impression of what exactly it was.
Well, remember something. All three of us know that when you're live for a fight, it's a different fight.
Oh, absolutely.
So what we saw was an even fight.
That's what I would like to know what it was. They were
maybe that was that's the telltale. And if that's the case, if you grab a hold of a bunch of live fans that were there and they all feel the same way, then we could go back and say, hey, those judges were picking the hometown.
The thing I was going to say to that is part of that is Porter's style isn't judge friendly. A lot of that stuff I don't think is scored cleanly, even when it gets there. It's just
but like you can't just score a round for a fighter because he's being aggressive. He's got to land. He's got to become.
It's got to be effective.
Shawn Porter has to become more accurate with his punches.
I was going to say
more accurate. I mean, you know what? The whole idea, bobbing and weaving, coming over the top, doing this, doing that. He was on the program. He was doing it. But you know what? He didn't stick to the accuracy memo that should have been released to him.
He should have learned.
He should have been a little more accurate. He was rolling. He was slipping. He was doing well. I thought he left Thurman off the hook a couple times with the body blows on the ropes. He could have been a little more effective and a little more relentless because it was a great arsenal that he tried to put together. But the bottom line is, Thurman weathered the storm, was able to spin him out, get out, and hit him on the outside and catch him with the shots.
And he got the decision by the judges. Hey, listen, I want to thank Sal and his beautiful restaurant here. I was going to say venue, but I guess it's a venue right now.
It's a venue.
But Sal's Neighborhood
venue with
Pizzeria and Italian restaurant in St. Simon's Island. We also want to thank Kenny Bear's Barbecue Rub for making this possible. Of course, LDLTV and our daily show, the Billy C. Morning Show. You can catch myself and Sal and even Coach at times every day.
His wife took a ride down. That's great.
That's right. Just for us, they came.
I'm honored. That. I want to thank you guys for taking a ride down.
Monday through Friday,
New York,
8 to 10 a.m. Check it out, www.billycboxing.com. Until we return, which is going to be July 5th, Tuesday.
Really?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to even be back up there. We'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about it.
Until next time, we'll see you soon.
Thank you.